Hey, welcome back, guys. If you're new to the channel, you may want to consider subscribing and also hit that notification bell so you'll be notified of when I post new videos. This video is about a job I did for a landlord that owns a lot of commercial real estate here in Brooklyn, New York. There was a leak going from the third floor to the second floor. It had been going on for a few weeks, so it really wasn't a full-blown leak, so it was hard to detect. But anyway, when I got there to start working in the apartment on the third floor, I told Carmen downstairs, which is the tenant, keep out of the kitchen while I'm banging. And she decided she needed a cup of coffee at the very moment that the ceiling came caving down. Well, luckily for her, she had walked past the ceiling before it dropped. But it was a close call, and I scolded her. I said, Carmen, I told you to stay out of the kitchen. Stick around. All right, so here we are. This was for a very good customer of mine who owns a lot of commercial property. This vanity is on the third floor, 2 floors above a bar. This vanity was plastered to the wall with silicone. I don't even know how I got it off. It was ridiculous. But at any rate, I got it out, and as I do with all my jobs, got my drop cloth set up, put everything in the hallway, ready to go to work. And, I knocked on the door. The people were sleeping. Actually, they were in bed. Their bedroom door was open. I actually closed the bedroom door and proceeded to do my thing. So anyway, first things first, we removed the vanity, or I removed the vanity. And what I found here was a floor that was installed on top of the tile floor. They put masonite down, and then they put these asbestos tiles down on top of this tile floor. So I had to break out the Milwaukee oscillating tool and cut out a section of the masonite. And there you go. There's the old blue tile that was typical back many, many moons ago when I started in this business. And the idea now is to bust this floor up and see what's going on. Bear in mind, there was a continuing leak going downstairs. The ceiling got saturated. And here's what I found when I poked open that tile. There's a lead trap in there, and they soldered that T right into the trap. To the left there, you're going to see an 1.5 inch galvanized waste line that was actually taking the waste for the basin. This is typical here in Brooklyn, New York. This is the connection that was made. So to the left is a 2-inch galvanized fitting. In the middle there, that hex nut is a 2 by 1.5 inch bushing. In that bushing is a 1.5 inch male solder nipple onto which they soldered the lead trap. And here's a better look at that, and you can see that trap going down, and you can see that the, a lead trap, they could bend it and get any kind of configuration or position they needed it to get it in. That's the way they did it in the old days. In the meantime, I told the lady downstairs, I'm banging upstairs, don't go in the kitchen. She goes to get a cup of coffee, and she's lucky that she walked past this before it fell down. The whole ceiling fell down. Hey, that's part of the day in the life of this plumber, but it happens. I actually scolded her. I said, Carmen, I told you to stay out of the kitchen. You're going to get killed. Carmen, I told you to stay out of the kitchen. What are you doing in the kitchen? I needed a cup of coffee. You needed a cup of coffee? You almost had your head taken off. You want to know why we have to carry liability insurance? This is one time when you're happy you have insurance and you don't complain about the premiums. Here's another shot. And you can see it's old galvanized stuff that's been in there for years. If you look at the bottom of that trap, you see that little dark mark. That dark mark, if you will, is where the water was leaking from. There was actually a pinhole in the trap. You'll see that coming up here in the next frame. And I actually made that hole a little bigger with an awl just to show you. But that had been leaking sporadically, just kind of pissing into the ceiling. And the ceiling was absorbing everything. It wasn't just like pouring out when they used it. It was just absorbing into the plaster. Everything got so heavy that everything just fell down. She also told me that, she goes, make sure you run the basin, because it also leaks when you run the basin. So what I did is I rigged up a water line, shoved it down the basin line and ran it. And what was happening was the water was partially backing into the trap. And that was the water that was leaking from the basin. It wasn't a separate leak. Here's a shot from below. And that solder nipple that I pointed out earlier, I ended up melting the solder off the joint, because I didn't want to cut that thing out. I didn't want to bang on that old galvanized pipe. That was a conscious decision to make. And you can see the shoe here, the part that goes from the barrel to actually the tub drain, was situated on top of these water lines, which I think were dead. but I didn't want a chance cutting them and finding out the opposite. Anyway, next things next, and I proceed to cut out the strainer. I tried to remove it, but they never come out. But, I go through the motions anyway. I broke the crossbar, break out the Sawzall, make my 2 cuts, knock that piece in, break it in. This step has to be done very, very carefully because there's a fine line between chip and the tub, which will not make your customer too happy. Then with my chisel, started to loosen it to the left counterclockwise, and once it started to move, I was actually able to grab it by hand, and it collapsed, and this is the final piece. This is what it looks like after you get it out of there. Again, you have to be very, very careful. This is not for the DIYer or the faint of heart, because if you break the tub or chip the tub, you're going to be in for a real bad time. Anyway, there's what it looks like after I got it out, and those marks I didn't put in there. Those marks were in there from years gone by. I don't know how many times this drain was replaced. Anyway, to connect the new trap, which was a brass trap, I use this CK115 no hub coupling, which goes from 1.5" cast iron or plastic to 1.5" K or 1.25" copper. That fit onto the solder nipple, because the solder nipple is not the same size as 1.5" cast iron or galvanized. And you can see here I got that clamped onto the nipple. Naturally, again, I melted all the solder off. I was able to do it because I was able to get it from the top and able to get it from the bottom. Honestly, if the ceiling didn't fall down, I was going to have to break a good portion of it to do what I had to do. Here is the T with a supplied butt nipple. A butt nipple is actually shorter than a close nipple, but I ended up having to use a close nipple because the butt nipple was a little too short, and I couldn't jump those water lines, so I had to extend the T up a little further, and you can see that here. And I used blue block sealant on all my joints there because that's my insurance against anything leaking later on. And what you might want to do if you're going to do something like this, in the old days, you got really, really good quality tub waste. In the world today, you better make sure before you put that tub drain below the tub and tie in the strainer that you tighten the shoe or unscrew the shoe and put some sealant on it and put it back in there because most times they're loose in the box. Here's a shot of the tub from top. I smeared my Mega Lock on there, as I always do. And next you'll see the strainer prepped with putty, as I always do. And, once I got that all prepped in there, I actually had to put a screwdriver between the shoe, that long shoe, and the water pipes that you saw to hold the strainer up against the bottom of the tub, so I was able to screw that in. And you can see here what that looked like from the bottom. But on the right side, between the tub shoe and the strainer, I had a screwdriver wedged up against the water lines to hold it up there until I tightened the strainer. And that's pretty much it. And here's another shot of that. Once I was happy, I ran the water. I was satisfied there were no leaks. I actually put plywood down, some wire lath, some plastic, proceeded to cement the hole. And you'll see that here. Nothing fancy. Very, very basic cement. I told them that they could paint that once it dried if they didn't like the way it looked. And then I proceeded to put that ridiculous vanity back. And yeah, I got it back, put all the components back together, ran the water in the tub, ran the water in the basin, went downstairs, proceeded to clean up. And there you go, guys. Another day in the life of this plumber here in Brooklyn, New York. Hey, that's the way it goes. So there you go, folks. As you can see, Carmen almost got clocked. But anyway, that's the way it goes here. These standing waste and overflows are still all over the city. I haven't done one in a while. And actually, the fact that the ceiling fell down was an advantage to me because I was able to use the torch, melt off that solder, and proceed to put that new trap on with my CK115 no-hub clamp. Folks, if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more videos like it, stick around because to my right here, there are going to be a couple of videos popping up. One I chose, one YouTube chose. I want to thank you guys for stopping by the channel as always. Stay well, keep coming back, and as always, happy plumbing.